Hello, Real Talkers. Today it's all about action because we have Major Moshe Grunberg from the Combat Engineering Battalion here with us, who's going to tell us a lot of interesting facts. Good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Wow, finally, I got you from Aza to here.
It's great to be here. First of all,
I'm sure.
I've been looking like that for the past half a year.
Yes.
So it's probably the first day that I'm actually been in civilian clothing. So it's here in Jerusalem. To be here in Jerusalem, it's a closing of a full circle.
Yeah.
I was here over Sukkot, so that was kind of like the last time I was here. Yeah, it's great to be here.
You were recruited on October 7th?
I was recruited on Simchat Torah.
Yeah.
I found myself in Kfar Chabad by my in-laws.
Okay.
In Chabad, on Simchat Torah, we drink.
So you're Chabad?
I'm Chabad, yeah.
Then goes the Haredim in the army.
Yeah, we could develop the conversation and go on for an hour.
Just
but
making a point.
I was in Kfar Chabad for Simchat Torah. As you know, in Kfar Chabad we drink.
Yeah.
So I went to sleep 2:30 in the morning and I was drunk. And next thing I know, my mother-in-law was knocking on the door and she's like, Moshe, Dvori, my wife, wake up, the sirens. And I hear the sirens and it's 6:30, 6:35 and I don't understand like what's going on. I thought it was probably a mistake or something. Because it happens, they just go off once in a while, either Shabbos timers, whatever is going on. And then we start seeing the rockets and it's above the airport and the Iron Dome was being used. And then I opened my phone. We ran to the bomb shelter, I opened up my phone and I see the first footage, the video footage of what's going on in Sderot and the Gaza settlements, and I knew this is it. And for me, what's interesting about it is that I belong to the 14th Division, the Tank Corps. Okay. The way it works with the combat engineers, that each battalion of combat engineers is under the tank corps or the infantry corps. Okay. We don't have our own corps. That's the way it works in the army.
So you're under tank?
Under the tanks, right? Shurion and the 14th Brigade, tank Brigade. And before Yom Kippur, it was 50 years since the Yom Kippur War.
Right.
So they made a huge play in the latrine, near the latrine junction on the base. Yeah. It was outside, thousands of people. And they made a play of the famous war that during the Yom Kippur War, there was one of the missions was Chava Sinit, was the Chinese ranch. Okay. And that was led by a guy named Amnon Reshev. He was then the commander of the brigade. Today he's a general, retired general, he's 80 years old. And he hosted all the families of those that fought during the Yom Kippur War, their children, their wives, for them to try to grasp what happened to their husbands and their children during that war. So the play was in Latrun, thousands of us were there. It was amazing. I mean, they put millions of shekels into this play. I think you could even see it on YouTube. And at the end of the evening, Amnon Reshev gets up and he says, what happened to us during the Yom Kippur War could happen to you guys tomorrow. Wow. And obviously everyone in the audience was like, yeah, right. We've heard about that, there's no real existential threat today against Israel. Even as someone that does reserves between 30 and 60 days a year, no one ever spoke about it out. No one thought there would be a war breaking out. We're on the brink of war. It didn't pass anyone's mind. And this all went through my mind when I'm opening up my phone on Simchat Torah. And immediately I contacted my superiors, my commanders. So we didn't really know what was going on. Yeah. And before we received the full picture, so many people went, and they were the first ones to arrive, and they drove down Highway 232, which is the main highway, the famous highway. And there were terrorists on the junctions waiting for them and shooting them down. And they came by themselves, and I didn't have a gun at home. I had no idea that this is going to happen, and our guns were on base. Yeah. And therefore, I didn't know. I was waiting to hear the next step from my superiors and to try to go as an organized group. And during that time, I ran to Shul, about 8 o'clock in the morning, Kfar Chabad. There's no such thing as a minyan shachris, 8 o'clock in the morning. But I conducted one, and I got a couple guys together, and we davened. I led the davening very, very briefly. And then after Kriyat Torah, I was going before Musaf, and I went to the bathroom, and then I saw 3 missed calls from my superior. He told me, Moshe, you got to get the guys. We're going to Tze'elim, which is a little south of, it's about 20 miles south of Gaza. And we went to Tze'elim. We were on base. We got our guns. We got our ammunition, whatever we needed.
You said goodbye to your wife?
Said goodbye to my wife.
Sorry, I need all the...
Yeah, for sure. I said,
was she worried?
She was petrified. I mean, I was like a lion in a cage. Yeah. Because for me, this is what we're trained for. This is what I've done, and this is.
You have never done a war before?
I've done in Protective Edge in 2014, Suketan. I fought, but then I was just a regular soldier, and now I'm a company commander. I've been a company commander for the past 6 years. So eventually what happened is I only got back after 3 weeks. But during that time, we were told that tomorrow we're invading. And during that time, we were training and doing all these different exercises, because at the end of the day, no one prepared for this war, and as you know, we were caught. It was just a total surprise, and we had to train all the soldiers.
That's what I wanted to know. Also, you're giving me some background now that I was so interested. When we were all waiting, are we going into Gaza? You, in the meantime, are sitting and at the border training, right? They are training all of you.
No, so what happened is that the first week we were assisting with all the bodies. All the bodies of our brothers and sisters and the soldiers, the fallen soldiers in the kibbutzim. We'll clean out the kibbutzim, we'll clean out all the cars, because as the common engineers, we have all the equipment to do so. So that was the main emphasis on the first week. And then after a week or two, the next 2 weeks, we started doing training and exercises in Se'elim, getting ready to enter Bet Hanun. Because then we received our first commands that we're going to enter Bet Hanun.
Bet Hanun is the first stop now?
Yes, Bet Hanun is the most northern part of the Gaza Strip. It's also the most highest part of the Gaza Strip. So the village itself is about between 60 and 80 meters above sea level. So it's located in a very strategic position, and you're able to see with the naked eye in Bet Hanun, you're able to see the Rottenberg electricity plant on the sea. You're able to see the outskirts of Ashkelon, Kibbutz Erez, the new neighborhoods of Sderot. We're talking about 500 to 600 air meters from Bet Hanun. And Bet Hanun is also...
To see with naked eyes.
Yeah, naked eye. You don't even know, binoculars, you don't need telescope, nothing. You could see standing there. And in fact, when we entered, I looked back and you just see, the southern part of Ashkelon, the northern part of the Moetzet Eshkol and Moetzet Sha'ar HaNegev. The regional Sha'ar HaNegev is the regional council that borderlines Sderot. You're able to see these, the Israeli villages, and they're just there. And you realize how easy it was for them just to cross the fence. And everything they built up over the years, all these defense systems, just...
So from a strategic point of view, that was the first one that had to go.
It had to go. And it was just mind-boggling the amount of ammunition we found. I mean, in every home, I'm talking about the outskirts, we found motorcycles that were part of the invasion on the 7th of October. We found cars.
Not in Hamas housing, Palestinian houses.
Palestinian houses. Don't differentiate. Every home, we'll put it like this, in every other home, practically speaking, there's ammunition, Kalashnikov, Dragunov, the sniper guns. We found grenades, thousands of grenades, shawaz, side bombs, booty trap, everywhere.
Under kids'
we found tunnels
beds.
under kids' beds. We found tunnels underneath schools, the UNRWA school in Bet Hanun. We found tunnels underneath mosques, terrorist infrastructure everywhere. We found My Kampf books. Now, if we talk about what they're standing up for, the Hamas, it's not just anti-Zionist, it's not just anti-Israel, we're talking about anti-Jews. This is anti-Semitism in the most pure way, because they're taught at a very young age. We saw in the schools, they're selling Kalashnikov toys in the cafeteria, in the school. And this is what they're taught at such a young age.
So it's not only Hamas.
It's not only Hamas.
It's all of them.
There's not only, I mean,
you slept in their
you can't
houses.
differentiate. For sure, there's nowhere else to sleep. I mean, we went through the house. We found,
which were all evacuated.
All of them were evacuated because that's what we were waiting for. That's why it took us a while
So you come into empty houses, their stuff is still there.
Most of the stuff was still there. And
all their
belongings. And we gave them enough time to go south. That's why it also took extra time to start the invasion.
Evacuation.
We helped with evacuation. We waited for them. They couldn't care less. I mean, the Hamas stayed behind. They were waiting for us. When we crossed the fence on Thursday night, I believe it was the 27th of October, we were greeted with gunfire and an unbelievable amount of rockets and RPGs.
And they're hiding in the houses.
They're hiding in the houses and the mosques and the hospitals and the schools. I mean, in the hospital in Bet Hanun, there was a huge fight. I mean, there were terrorists in the hospital. waiting for us, and they evacuated the hospital. They use
They're
all
cowards. They use their...
For sure.
Are they scared of you? Are they scared of the Israeli army?
To a certain extent.
As you approach?
I didn't see too many terrorists up front willing to wage war from outside. We did see. I saw terrorists go up to tanks and use bombs to try to blow up the tanks. I did see some terrorists. We interrogated some terrorists, but most of them, yes, were hiding behind either civilians or hiding behind. They were in homes or mosques or schools or underground. I mean, we're the only army in the world that's waging war with an enemy that's 360 degrees. There's no other army that fights such a war.
Right.
Because you're fighting with an enemy that comes from underground, from above ground, from every direction.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what makes it so unique for us, for the IDF, and there's no end to the exercising and the training you need to be able to fight such a war. So I'm sure, I mean, eventually, as the weeks passed by and for the past couple months, we gained major experience. I mean, I'm sure the other armies in the world are going to have to learn from us, because everyone's going to face anything that happens here has a ripple effect. And that's why everyone learns, because anything that happens here on a small scale, in a micro here in Israel, doesn't stay in Israel.
Right.
It's the beginning of a trend.
Not only the amount of casualties that you create, it's nothing compared to...
Definitely.
It's incredible.
Definitely. It's 1 to 2, I think.
But you, Moshe, became famous because of your... You went around exploding houses, exploding buildings. You posted on Instagram something that went viral. You dedicated an explosion to your daughter's birthday, which I understand that people that don't know what's going on could be hurt. But we know we were hurt, and you fight first line, and you know what you're doing. These are all people that have to go, people that destroy, that won't just destroy. But then you were declared dead by the Arabs. Somehow they wanted you. You were wanted by Hamas. How did you turn into a...
Okay, so the story behind that explosion is that I didn't post it myself. What happened is that I have one daughter. Her name's Ella. She's a princess. And I hadn't seen her for about 4 weeks. Or I think it was 5 weeks.
How old is she?
She's now 2 years and 4 months, or 5 months.
Maybe.
So my wife said, when I left, present to us something, dedicate for us something, because at the end of the day, I have no communications with her. There's no phones, and I have no ability to talk to her.
Yeah.
And we think about them all the time. And to a certain extent, for the people at the home front, it's much harder and much more challenging than the people in Gaza, because we have camaraderie, we have our friends, we're fighting together. And so I said to one of the cameramen, we had actually, it was a very experienced cameraman. His name is Zagman. He's an award-winning photographer. I told him, please take a short video clip, and I'll send it to my wife. I'll get someone in the
so it was
backstage.
dedicated to her, not
to my daughter. Right. Just send it for her to know that I'm celebrating the birthday from afar. And so I dedicated the famous the blowing up, and it was actually 10 minutes before the ceasefire, because my company received orders to clean up a certain neighborhood in Bet Hanun, and we hadn't finished the job, and we tried to get as much as done before the ceasefire, knowing that at 7 o'clock we wouldn't be able to do it anymore. Whatever's still standing, we're going to have to deal with. And so I blew it up, and I sent it to my wife, and she sent it on the family. And the next thing we know, it went viral, and I had no idea what was going on. And to the fact that I had 2 or 3 weeks later, when eventually I got out, we had a 24-hour break in Ashkelon. I opened up my phone, and I have 1,400 personal WhatsApp messages, tens of thousands of hate mail, and Facebook and Instagram and all over the place. And it was just, it was crazy. And a couple weeks later, when my soldier, Kobi Dvaz, was killed, so the headline was killed by a sniper in Gaza. The headline was a soldier from the 271 battalion was killed. So it was picked up all over Twitter that it was me. So I put out that I was killed. So it went viral, and it went on Al Jazeera, and it was on Kuwait News and all these different websites and out.
As long as they know you're alive still.
Thank God. I mean, I know I got so many care messages. Yeah, so many.
They should still fear.
It's an experience.
For their own lives.
I have to say, it was an experience to die and to go through such an experience it's pretty intense. But I know that at the end of the day we were doing the right thing. And you know what? The most important thing is that at the end of the day, we're the insurance policy for worldwide Jewry. Because Jews around the world know, I mean, if worse comes to worse, and we're seeing it now in Europe and parts of the States and Canada, wherever, Australia, wherever it is, that they cannot live there as free Jews anymore. Yeah. They could always come come here to Israel. Yeah. Now here in Israel, I'm not saying it's easy, and it's far from easy, but we could stand up for our own. Yeah. We could stand up and fight our own wars, and that's what we have to continue to do.
And you guys also suffer after for what you've seen. I mean, do you sleep at night? You've been through so much between the dead bodies from the kibbutzim and the soldiers. And how long does it take to get?
Look, I'm just starting the long journey back to reality. And the biggest problem that we deal with is, I mean, I tell people ask me, how's Gaza? So they say it's, give us over a story, give over a story. So I say it's not just about what we saw and what we heard. I mean, the main sense that works is the smell. Really? And that's something that, I mean, you could say, for an example, I'll give an example. Is like I asked when I speak to Holocaust survivors, I say there's one thing about Auschwitz, one thing unique is the smell. Yeah. And that's something in Gaza. It's very hard to give over the smell. I mean, just to get an idea. I mean, we didn't take showers for 35 days. Right. You don't change your shoes. You don't change your socks. I mean, the food is, you get army rations with canned food left out. There's no bathrooms, there's no running water, there's no electricity. So, wherever your mind takes you, think of the stench. I mean, think 35, we're talking about hundreds of guys that haven't taken a shower for 35 days. And that's something that's unique. Yeah. I mean, that's something that stays with you, it sticks with you. You try to, take a shower, you rub it off, but it doesn't go, it's with you, that experience. Yeah. And besides that, yes, every person, I mean, outright, I mean, any person that passed the border and went to fight in Gaza is suffering from PTSD to a certain extent. Yeah. Some that are more, some are less. But we saw visions that we'll take to our grave. That will never. These are pogroms. This Kishinev. This is stories we read about Jewish history that we experienced in our lifetime. In 2024, no one thought that we would experience such a thing, and that was one of the major. The shock that we received on the 7th of October is the fact that we were in slumber for a decade. We're living in a modern lifetime. We're driving, nice cars and living in beautiful apartments and going on vacation 2 to 3 times a year. And suddenly we were here, going back 100, 120 years ago, and seeing these visions, and it's just unbelievable.
But it's thanks to you guys, real heroes.
Thank you.
I guess you'll be called back if there is more action in the north. And I don't know what to say. Just keep on being the hero that you are. Thank you. Be strong.
Thank you.
God should watch over you and your family. Thanks for everything you're doing. And I think you should go all over the world and say what you've seen.
Thank you. Thank you.
Amazing. Kol hakavod.
Thank you.
Well, I hope you guys were inspired just as I was. And look out for Moshe Grunberg.
Thank you. Thank you.